Hello, chat. Welcome. We've got a great one today. The DeFi Recode episode number 13. We're getting into double digits now, and I'm excited for today. We've got DAVEvsAXIE on, one of a fellow Twitch streamers out here, content creators with Axie, also manager or owner of CTG, a stable with Axie Infinity. And we've been really watching what he's been doing and look up to him and everything they've been doing with their stable. So we wanted to have him on, discuss what we can do right as we're starting out and the little guys. And I just wanted to introduce him. I'll let him give a little bit of an introduction about himself, where he grew up, how he got into Axie, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you. Yeah. So first of all, just to clarify, I don't own CTG. I am an admin with them, and I am a scholar owner or manager partnered with them. So they kind of help me with some of the stuff that we'll get into in a little bit. But yeah. So obviously, my name's Dave from DAVEvsAXIE. You might have seen me in the community either on Twitter, Twitch, or YouTube. Kind of my whole shtick as to why I joined into Axie was I started in stocks. I went to college for finance. Never actually worked in finance, but always was fascinated by stocks and bonds and just kind of the whole corporate structure around it. And so I've invested in stocks for the last 10 years just on my own. And in the COVID time, obviously in quarantine, me and some buddies just started to do it a little bit more, not professionally, but started sharing ideas and tips. So we did quite well last year with stocks, and then the beginning of this year kind of led into cryptos. And I actually got burned back in 2018, 2017 time where I bought kind of towards the peak of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. They all tanked. And at the time, I didn't have as much money. I wasn't as stable, I guess, money-wise as I am now. So I couldn't really have it go to zero. I could probably only have it go to, 50% loss. And so right at that 50% loss mark, I sold. And it did stable out for like 2 years. So I really, I probably wasn't going to hold it for 2 years too with nothing happening. But yeah, so I was a little nervous, but decided to jump in with some of the profits I had from stocks. And then on the app I was using, they actually had a scroll ticker at the top that showed the purchase from Flying Falcon when he bought 9 Genesis plots for $1.5 million. And so that was really the trigger point for me to say, I don't care how rich you are, there's no one that's just going to dump $1.5 million into a game where you can't even play on the land that you're about to buy into. And sure enough, it ended up being a great investment for Flying Falcon. Now I think that $1.5 million investment is probably worth like $5 million or so right now, if not more. But ultimately, it was one where I saw that, read the white paper for about 2 days, and every other thing I could find on YouTube and Twitch or wherever. But there really wasn't much on YouTube. It was only Kagi at the time that I had seen, and then there was only one Twitch streamer, JB Music, that I consistently saw on. And so I jumped in, and then I just knew, if I liked the game and there was actually possibility to make money or have fun with it, I should try to just tell people in America, or just because JB Music is also from South America, but with English as well, just try to help onboard people into the game. And that's really where I kind of started out at. So I started back in late February or early March. Kind of just tried to go for the arena side, did well, finished just right outside the top 200 in the first season.
Oh, wow.
Last season didn't play as much. And then after the first season, though, I spent so much just trying to build my Axie teams that I decided I would I wasn't making any money. I spent a ton of money actually into the game, made nothing. And so then I decided, okay, I'm going to actually invest into see what else everyone's doing. Then I learned about breeding, more and more on breeding, especially as we got into Ronin, because before breeding, if you weren't on the Ethereum network, it was about $200 to breed an egg, just on gas fees, never mind the SLP cost. So ultimately, I just never did it until after Ronin. And then once Ronin kicked off, I jumped right into scholarships. And so I went from 0 to about 30 now in about 2 months. But it's been a little slow grind. But again, just trying to onboard, the right people and make sure that they have good teams as well that they're playing with, so, they can be successful too.
That makes a lot of sense, man. And it's awesome to see somebody come in. Like, I thought I was like super late to the game, and like seeing the game grow, and to know that somebody else like yourself has just come into the game this year as well, like, is kind of comforting to probably a lot of the other newer people that are looking at Axie. And to see that somebody can still come in the game this year and play, because the friend that introduced me to it had been in it for 3 years, and I didn't know Ronin and all that was new like this year. Like,
Yeah.
you were pre-Ronin, like, even this year is pretty crazy. I didn't know any of that. And I feel like we have a pretty similar kind of story, I did the same thing. Like during COVID, got into stocks trading and streaming, and then kind of towards the end of last year, found like cryptocurrency, and somehow somebody introduced me to Axie, and I started looking into it. At first, I kind of turned away from it, like, oh, video game, like how am I going to earn? I think like DeFi is the way to roll. It's kind of like product market fit for what's happening with crypto. And I started
Yep.
looking into more into Axie in the news, and I'm like, wow, this is really, really interesting. And I hadn't played video games myself for like 10 years. And this is what's got me back into playing video games. Like, I actually really enjoy Axie and the card game of playing and like the thinking of the player versus player side of it. You know, there is strategy and energy strategy and card play strategy, and sometimes you hold back and don't do anything. You know, lat final stand strategy involved in the game. What are your thoughts on like stuff like that with like some people are out there, you know, they don't like the game. Do you enjoy playing the game as well? I hear like a lot of managers say they don't really enjoy playing the game, which I
So
enjoy playing.
I think there's twofold though. I don't know how much managers don't enjoy it. What happened for me is I started launching the scholarship
Hmm.
and breeding and getting really into breeding. I just didn't have time. Like I'm not full time Axie, so I still have a full time job. Um, but tying that into kind of the Axie universe, I just spent so much time doing breeding and scholarships and other stuff like that initially that I was so enthralled in that I kind of forgot to play. And then we had 2 weeks off and on of server issues that I would play arena here and there, but once servers are back now, especially with SLP spiking, it makes so much sense to play. So I mean, I'm playing, trying to get my dailies done every day. I've missed a few, um, but yeah, I'm a big fan of it. So again, initially, I got really excited about the arena when I first jumped in, and so I started out. I spent about $800 or $900 on my first team, and at that time, that was pretty expensive. That was kind of the all-time high for Axie back then, and then it actually dropped a ton. But then I kept just buying Axies because I lost to a bird, so I need a bird. And then I started seeing bug pop up, so I needed a bug. And I didn't necessarily buy the right meta. I just kind of bought in thinking like, I'll figure it out. And I didn't buy good Axies necessarily to breed, but I bought Axies. I did the research to have good-ish Axies that I got through. But then ultimately I started trying to theory craft teams. So I was on a flight. I actually downloaded like the Card Explorer as like a document and then save that on my phone. So I was in theory crafting teams like on my iPad of what I think would be good, what cards would be nice. So once I landed, I tried to then go find those in the market, and some of them didn't even exist at the time because when I joined, there was less than 300,000 Axies. So there just hadn't even been bred yet or attempted to breed. And so yeah, so I used those to try to create a better arena team, and then that helped me a ton to then move up the ladder. And I think I finished that first season, which was 2 seasons ago. I finished at 140 uh, in rank, and then there was 4 hours left because it ended, I think, at like 3 or 4 a.m. my time or 5 a.m. And so I decided I was going to go to bed at rank number 140, and I woke up 4 hours later. 65 people had passed me, something like that, to put me at 204. So I was like,
Oh
dang,
my
like good,
God.
good on them. It's just an unfortunate time zone issue because I would have stayed up, and I had just climbed up again from like 210 up to 140 with like 4 or 5 wins in a row. And I was like, oh man, I'm tired. Like, I'm not gonna wait up till 5 a.m. That's just crazy. And sure enough, I got bumped. So, and at that time, it was top 200 I got paid in AXS.
Oh
So,
my God.
yeah, so
What
it was
is it
quite.
right now? That was a question I was asking with my friend. What is it top what gets paid in
So
AXS every season?
last season was 300. I don't know what it's going to be this season. I would imagine it wouldn't be less. It would be the same or more because there's just
Yeah.
so many new players.
Hmm.
So I'd imagine it'll be 300 again for the future season. But they just randomly reset MMR. I'm assuming they did that to like test the MMR survivability on the current servers to make sure that they can actually show you your MMR if they're going to do another season or for the next season.
Hmm.
That's my guess, but yeah, so they just reset MMR too. So you're going to see if you're just getting in, yesterday, today, or tomorrow. If you should be seeing some better competition because everyone's around 1200 MMR. That for a competitive play, you're not going to be playing, you know, your same skill level necessarily.
That makes a lot of sense. I didn't realize that last night as I was playing. That makes a lot of sense. For somebody new getting into the game, like, what would you say when they want to pick up a team of Axies? You know, with everything you've gone through, learning about breeding, buying Axies for just meta and playing the game, if they wanted to get in the game, would you suggest they pick a team? that's priced correctly and maybe has been bred to just play the game and get the correct meta? Or would you suggest somebody kind of look towards the future breeding and get like a virgin Axie and maybe pay up a little bit when creating a team?
It all depends on your goal. The best thing I think you could do is if you could find a purish Axie. So for the most part, I don't breed Axies that are. I wouldn't buy an Axie to breed under 95% if you're just going to go for pures. Now there's other builds obviously that are good that are not pures, but if you're breeding, obviously the more pure you're going to breed, it's going to be a little bit easier to manage if you're new to the game. So I would say if you can go for pures, I would go that route, but I would go like a plant double aqua just because if you went for even a 2 breed or less or somewhere around there, even 3 breed or less, uh, if they were similar, you could just play the game, earn all the SLP you want, then you have to buy the 4 AXS, but then you could just breed those aquas to make, another aqua. And now you have, an extra aqua. You can go sell one of those or sell the bred newborn. So it's kind of your call as to what you want to do. But for most people, my recommendation now, I just made a video of like onboarding, and I'm going to do a team one soon too about like what to do if you are brand new. But I also say like if you're trying to breed, if you're trying to be competitive, if you're just trying to make money in general. But really, the best thing you could do in Axie right now is just buy 3 Axies. Understand you probably need a tank, a damage dealer, and then kind of a faster damage dealer. And if you have those 3, you'll at least be able to earn your 150 SLP a day and kind of make yourself your own scholar, and you should be able to pay off that team in 4 to 8 weeks. That now your entire rest of your Axie history is profitable as long as you don't put in more, of your fiat currency, and you just are using the SLP to then convert to ETH or convert to something else. Uh, so yeah, so like that's what I would recommend for most people coming in. The only thing that the main thing you have to make sure you have though is damage, because you won't be able to beat Adventure without damage, and it will be a lot more difficult to overcome Arena play too without damage there too.
That makes a lot of sense. And like having I love how you explain it, needing like a medium damage dealer and like a more so damage dealer, and then you need your tank up front and everything like that. There's definitely a lot more nuance to this game and like learning all the cards. I said right before we got on the call, I really love the artwork behind you with every one of the Axie cards in it. I think that's really cool, a cool piece of artwork to have, and like I think people need to refer to that. We definitely put a packet together, and I've been like referring to trying to learn all the cards and all the moves as I'm playing. When you're
Yeah,
breeding, go ahead.
by the way, once you get in, the more you play, I know all of at least the body parts of moves, and I know most of now just the eyes and ears. I know at least the class they are. I almost know all the names, and I thought like when someone told me that would happen, I always thought they were crazy, but it's pretty nuts as to how far I've come along on that too.
You slowly pick up on it all. It's like learning.
Yeah,
It's like learning a new language when you're in a different country. Like you slowly just pick it up, you know.
right.
When you're breeding, how are you like tracking everything or like picking parents? Like how do you pair parents? What do you look for when pairing?
Yeah, so I track everything on an Excel spreadsheet. It's very rough. It's kind of just craziness. I actually don't read it as much as I probably should, and I think I might actually stop doing it. I did it initially to verify that breeding was profitable for me, but now, again, the more and more that I've gotten into it, I know what I need to sell them at right now to turn back my ROI just on AXS and SLP. But when breeding two together, the main thing that you want to watch out for, I would say, is again, if you're breeding for 95% plus, and that's only when I buy. If I bred some that are going to be 93% or even 91, 92, depending on what some of those R1s, or even if I get a weird dominant one too, I might still rebreed it. Like, for example, I had some double net nut dual blade Revenge Arrow mechs that some of them got Hungry Bird or Risky Fish as the mouthpiece. And I thought about it, I was like, well, it just makes it faster. The Aqua actually adds a little bit extra health to it too. So I was like, why not just breed those out? And if it's just going to be for scholar accounts, it might not have the same ROI when going to the marketplace, but they're not bad Axies, like where they're unusable. So I've bred some of those, or like I had a beast that got Frizard, which is a reptile ear, and I've been breeding those too because it just gives it more tankiness with the same speed. So it all depends on what you're really looking for. But if you're going on the pure route again, like we've talked before, I would say that the main watch out you want to have is never breed. I try to never breed one that has uh, a non-pure part in R1 and R2. So if one Axie has like say Or say it's like that mech, right? Who has, say it says Nutcracker on the mouth, but then it's R1 is Hungry Bird, which is a bird card, and then it's R2 is Risky Fish, which is an aqua card. I usually wouldn't breed that if I'm actually going to try to keep it pure, because that immediately gives you a 12% chance of breeding a non-beast
Something
card
else.
before you account for what your other partner is going to have. And then the same check for if I'm breeding two, say, mechs together, I wouldn't want, say, a Hungry Bird and an R1 on one of them and a Risky Fish on an R1 on another one of them, because now we're talking about a 20% chance to 20-ish% chance that one of those is going to come up and it's going to ruin the purity. Which if I usually breed 4 times, so I'm breeding 4 times, I'm very close, like, to guaranteeing that one of them is going to have that pop up and it's dominant. Um, so yeah, so those are kind of the main watch outs I would say when I'm looking for parents. And again, if I start doing it too fast, I mess it up all the time. Like, I messed up one breed the other day that I was like, dang, I just made a video for everyone else telling them not to do this, and I just did it. And I was like, wow, what an idiot. So yeah,
Always
so
happens,
like,
man. And
yeah,
that's really good information you just give, I feel like. I'm gonna rewatch that.
it's
Also, like, how do you decide when breeding and you're like hatching? How do you decide like what maybe goes to the market for sale? Like, are there floor axes that you're just like selling, not good enough for scholarships, just trying to liquidate some of the money back out to continue breeding, not worth breeding? Or is everything worth going to scholars at this point to work through and you kind of upgrade your scholars? How do you
yeah.
decide what to do with the axes you then breed out? Like how do you classify them in your mind or
Yeah,
usefulness?
good question. So I don't have so I did start off some of my scholars with some bad Axies. I upgraded one of them, and he actually reached out to me too because he wanted to be more competitive. And so I looked at his team. I was like, "Yep, this is definitely the one team where I knew I probably should have made some changes." So I changed up his team, and he's now climbed the ladder pretty good, and he's earning, I think, well over 200 SLP a day with only 20 energy, which is great.
Hmm.
But what I do now, or what I was doing, I guess, because that's also the main point, and I think it will evolve as I think long term, and maybe even as soon as like a few months. I'm optimistic that Sky Mavis is going to lower the AXS needed to breed, um, because it's just not sustainable right now for new people to get into the game. And I think that they truly do want Axie prices to be lower. But with where they're at right now, what I was able to do before is I would breed two parents. Say I was breeding plants, I'd breed them. The 2-4 breeds would go to scholars, because I also want to collect and harvest and keep more pure Axies, because as mutations are happening, there's going to become less and less pure Axies that are actually breedable. So if I actually had an issue where, my farm does kind of go to crap, I could, if I have enough SLP, AXS is the same rate. So if I have enough SLP being generated by scholars or just buying it myself, I can then go use one of those 4 breeds that might be 100% or 99% to then re-jump start my farm. But then of their 4 offspring, I before was selling my 2 worst ones, and because of where Axie prices were, those 2 worst ones were reselling for enough to cover the next purchase of my AXS or SLP for every breed. So before I even got to the scholarship phase, I was profitable on every breeding cycle. Right now, I'm not. And so right now, I'm probably spending for each breed zero point 0.1 ETH of additional money just to sell the 2 worst and keep the 2 best. I make that up sometimes because what I am doing right now is selling 100% pures. If I have 2 that are actually good enough from that breeding pool, so I'm selling the 100% that then will make up. So if 100% can sell for 0.7 to 1.5 ETH, I can make up a nice chunk of, say, what I might have lost in some other breeds with that. So that's kind of how I view a lot of things there too. And it was a nice situation too where I could breed profitably, and um, then I'll make my share off of the scholars too. But right now, even though I'm investing zero point 0.1 ETH per scholar or per 2 parents I breed, I'm gonna make it up over time. So it's kind of a further investment of me into my scholars. But like, that's fine. Like, I don't need to be profitable before I even start the venture with the scholar. The point of the scholar is that we both profit off of it, and pay back for the team value.
Absolutely. One of the things that we struggle with, like when just being, we're completely new and we appreciate the help with this. I'm sure you're going to laugh. But like, what do we set? What is like a fair, we're trying to like bonus our scholars, like, but we don't want to like set a bar that they can't reach with the team. So like, do you set like bars for performance with your scholars? And like, what's a fair range of SLP per pay period or per month or
Yep.
per day or whatever to set that at? Because we're afraid we're setting it too high, and we don't want to be looked at as people that are putting out, an unreachable goal.
Yeah, so I don't have a so as I said before, CTG does not have a quota. They're very consistent on that. I don't have a quota, but I definitely have a guide that I encourage them that they should strive for because it's not only do they make me a little bit extra money, but they make themselves more money too. And that's like why waste your opportunity if you're going to work for 2 or 3 hours on Axie? Why not make the most amount of money out of it?
Hmm.
So that's where I made our video on YouTube. That's most managers end up sending to their scholars day one. Just say, hey, watch this. This is how you should spend your energy over the next 4 weeks, and that's the most helpful thing that they've found. But really, what ends up happening is the if you play the game just and you have a decent enough team, 150 SLP is guaranteeable as long as you play enough time because there's no limit on how much SLP you can earn SLP in adventure, even if you're out of energy. So you can get to 100 SLP there, and then all you need to do is win 5 adventure or 5 arena, sorry, to then get your 50 bonus SLP. So 150 SLP really is the minimum that your scholar should get per day. Now, I have said, hey, your goal is to hit 150 per day as a scholar, but like at the same time too, if you're at 140 on a month or 130 on a month, I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
you're losing your scholarship.
Yeah.
I'm more if you're just not hitting it, I usually then reach out about a week or 2 weeks in and say, hey, what are your challenges? It seems like you're under earning. Are you have you been having personal challenges, or are you just like confused about the game? Do you want to do a little coaching session? And so I try to help them with all that too. The other big encouragement, I just saw someone post about the servers. So I've also told my scholars like take the day off. Like I actually don't keep track on a daily basis as to where they're at. I just say, hey, don't touch anything till servers, and then once servers are back to good, I'll just like note where everyone's at in SLP, and if they just haven't touched the game again for 4 or 5 days after servers are back, then I'm like, I'll again just DM them on Discord, say, hey, is everything okay? Just let you know like servers are back up, like encourage you to play again because unless you don't want to play, then I'll give it to someone else because the whole point for me on my team is I just want them active for the scholars as well. So if someone doesn't want to play, I don't care. Like we have a long list of people that want to play, obviously on CTG, and most other people do too. Um, that we just want to make sure that if you want to be a scholar, you're able to earn the money for yourself there as well, and not just wasting a scholarship that you're just kind of forgetting about.
Great advice
So
and well said. That was the only reason we wanted to put in like a minimum per month or per pay period was just so that the team wasn't wasted. But like you said, we're not like if you're
yeah,
just
hey,
off by 10 points, we're gonna reach out to you and just say, hey, everything okay? You got a sick day, no big deal. You know what I mean?
yeah, and
Servers
so
are
like
down, no big deal.
and I've encouraged them to play servers like go to bed. Like I'll let you know in here when you should even try the servers again, but don't check it every hour. Get sleep. Um, and I think CTG's like goal for like floor is like 2,500 or 3,000 SLP a month, and that's what most kind of others are raging it by. That's kind of where I am too. So realistically, you should get probably about 4,500, but as long as you're over 3,000 in a month, like that just means you're at least playing the game. Um, and that's fine. I think especially as you grow your scholarship, you get to be a lot more accepting of that too. I'd say that definitely when I first started, I was super nervous. I was like, I need everyone to earn max. Like I can't because it's just a lot of money that I'm putting up. Each team now is well over $1,000. That for 10 scholars, I'm putting up 10 grand. And if I lose two of those to multi accounting, I mean that's a big hit on my investment. And like I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to be thrown around on
You're
NFTs and investments to have them be lost. So I was a lot more nervous in the beginning, but I think as you grow and you get more comfortable with it, and as you talk to everyone too, right? Like my scholarship Discord, I went into it today. It's a part of CTG, a separate channel, and they were all just like talking about when to switch off of adventure and arena and all the runes and which ones were harder than others, and I loved it. And so you just see like if you see everyone be at least active in there once a week, then you should feel pretty comfortable. But like if you have a name or two of your scholars you've never even seen them post, I just DM on them on the side. I'll check on them like every 2 weeks, as I say, just to make sure that they're good. Because if they don't want to chat in Discord, they don't have to. But I just want to make sure they know, hey, if you do have a question or you do want to reach out, like all this other scholars are there to help you out too. But so am I. So don't be afraid to DM me too.
great. That is great information. One of the questions in the chat, how do you vet for potential scholars and like make sure no multi accounting or anything like that is happening?
Sure. So I called this out on their show last night because we talked about how Bryce had mentioned in Ziori who wasn't really vetting very much, and I said, hey, like we all need to be vetting because it's a super big issue. So the few things that I think are the most common is they do like everyone kind of doesn't know your customer and make sure that they know who you are, what's your name, send an ID, send a picture of yourself with just like the date or like the scholarship you're applying for. Um, and then they fill out that first. They also I'll usually ask like, do you have experience with Axie Infinity? Have you played the game before? Do you own any Axies? Just stuff like that. And obviously, you want those to be no's because if they played the game before, well, why aren't you still playing the game? It's very rare for a scholarship manager to pull a scholar unless they cheated, did something kind of sketchy or whatever. Like you usually don't lose a scholarship once you have it, unless you as a scholar did something kind of questionable. Then we check like Ronin's and Ethereum addresses, so that's where they're going to cash out to. So you say, hey, send me your Ethereum and Ronin address, as long as they're clean with no Axies on them in the past, no other cash outs prior. Again, like that's on the level of trust. Once you hit 10 scholars, you can apply to be on the ASPL. So then that's like kind of a group of scholarship managers that can help ensure that you don't have any multi-accounting and you're only signing on someone once. We also check to make sure that the scholar is only in one Discord. So they basically can be in the Axie Discord and then the CTG Discord, and that's it. And so that way, again, like there's no risk of them going into join another guild or leaving as well because they know they're only talking in our one guild or one Discord. And we kind of require them to be in ours, and that's just another way to also prevent some of the multi-accounting. And yeah, that's kind of the main threshold behind it. Other people I've heard do phone calls, some do video calls. I often try to ask for Twitter just so I can, if they're real, I also encourage them like, hey, post it up. I'll help promote you on Twitter too if you want to become kind of a, known scholar in the community or anything like that. So it all depends on what they want to be, but I think yeah, that's probably the best way. Just know the person, and if you trust the person, like yes, they may speak a different language, but most of the Filipinos I've talked to do speak really good English. That you can at least get a decent conversation in to know, okay, I know who you are. I know your background. I feel like we're a real, you know, person talking to me back. You're not a bot. You're not going to cheat me. And kind of once you get to that level, you just have to have some trust. Um, yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And you hit the nail on the head with like literally our exact thinking starting this up. We're so nervous right now with our first teams. We don't want to get the first couple teams locked up with multi accounting and stuff like that. So you're really speaking like exactly the thoughts going through my head and everything like that. So it's kind of nice to hear somebody else kind of verify what we've been thinking, and that we're not crazy because in the world out here, I was like trying to talk to tax accountants, like, what do we need to do? And they're all like, people were just like almost hanging up the phone on me, like, no, we don't do that. We have no idea what you're doing. And I'm like, well, we need some help here.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting time for me too. One thing I can also send as well that I am planning to use. Most people also say it's probably going to be the thing they're going to go offer for their taxes is the NFT bank. Well, that's my portfolio. You can look at that if you want, but just go to nftbank.ai. You can then do your own Ronin and ETH addresses to vet them out and see basically how much you spent, how much you've earned. So like right now, it actually says that I'm down on profit. I don't think it has all of my wallets in there. But yeah, so that's something else that will definitely help.
That's really cool. I appreciate that. We're definitely going to have to look at that, and use that as we track. How are you tracking scholars and everything going on there? Is that like, do you track scholars daily SLP, or are you just looking at pay period? Daily doesn't really matter?
Sorry, say that again. So how do I track
How
their
are
SLP?
yeah, how are you tracking like their work? Do you just throw it all in an Excel spreadsheet or?
Yeah, so some people do track like their Ronin or their aux address to like we have a kind of a not a proprietary but a separate Excel sheet that one of our guys made that we use. Other
Mhm.
people have other ones that they use. There's a couple. There's one like called Axie.beer that I heard is like a new one, but you can find the ones online that will allow you to scholarship in. The only thing to make sure don't ever log in with your seed phrase. There's a huge call out there. Do not do that. Your seed phrase or secret phrase is that for a reason. It is secret. Do not tell anyone or post anywhere. But yeah, that would be what I would advise to try to find one of those that you're comfortable with, or you can kind of make your own. Just kind of pull it in if you're any good with that. But I'm sure there will be more ways to track that going forward in the future. You can also, since you only have if you're only going to do 10 to start, you can always just go into their Ronin. You don't even need to. Yeah, you do need to log in, and then you can log in just real quick and just see how much SLP they have that they could potentially claim. But realistically, yeah, I would probably, if anything, check them once a week and just see like where they're at. But then, okay, they're here at this week. Where are they next week? And if you just see that nothing really happened, or if it stays stagnant for a whole week, that's a little surprising to me.
Mhm.
But again, most scholars aren't going to have that issue. If they do, it's usually a personal issue, or it's like they got another scholarship but they didn't tell you issue. So that's the one thing I really try to track. Like, do you have another scholarship? Because if you do, it's fine. And if they want to pay you a higher percent, that's fine too. I just need to know so that
We don't
you don't,
lock up.
yeah, you don't end up using my account too. Then you lock up both of our Axies, and
Mhm.
that's really what I kind of check for more.
What
But
about like
if it's
what?
not that, it's like usually a personal issue that just like something happened that week.
Understood. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What about like coaching for your scholars? Or do you provide coaching or like any time together with the scholar team trying to make people better, or
So
hire outside coaching?
yeah, I haven't. I do coaching on the side. Like I've had people that reach out to me on Twitter or Discord, and I've been doing some mentoring for them for all different things. Some have asked for making competitive teams. Some have asked for breeding stuff, buying breeding parents, arena play stuff like that too. I know others like Indez and Best Axies and Elijah also do some of that coaching too, or but what I haven't done coaching with my scholars because none of them have been like I want to become top 100 or anything like that. And honestly, I don't know if their teams would be good enough to get quite there. They definitely have potential to be in the top 1,000, but to get to the top 100, I don't know if they'd be good enough. But a lot of them, if they're having trouble like getting to higher SLP or winning an arena, I would offer it. I do TM them a lot in my Discord to say, hey, does anyone need help? Is everyone doing good? Honestly, they've been pretty good at figuring it out without much help. Most of my teams are fairly straightforward too, where it's a plant beast bird or plant mech bird is my normal combo. I've just started adding in some terminators or some aquas into that too, so now it's a little bit more of a unique dynamic. But for the for most of my scholars, they've kind of just figured it out on their own, and they've been climbing up pretty high. I think I've had one up into the 2000s, but on the opposite side of that, though, like Elijah has fewer scholars. I think he's capping it at 25 or 50, and he does coaching with them. I think every 2 weeks, so or every week even. So, and he's got some. He had one guy last year season that finished in the top 300 with his team, which I thought was just crazy. So, I might do it, but I haven't gone to that extreme of doing a ton of coaching with them yet.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just like thinking forward, and we'd love to like do some friendly scrimmages, scholar on scholar, and maybe put out some content around that, and start some friendly rivalships. I really feel like there is an esports aspect to Axie that's really going to take off. What are your thoughts on like that side of things?
Yeah, well, first thing I would say, a really nice thing you can do for your scholars too is that we do incentives. So if they finish in the top 200, if they finish in the top 10 of CTG scholars, which I think we're going to increase from 10 to like 15 or 20, but right now it's top 10. I think they get a boost to what percent they earn per month, and we give them an extra Axie in their pool to play around with. So just kind of, it's just a fun thing for them. Like if you have a plant beast bird, maybe you get a reptile or maybe you get an aqua, and then they can start kind of playing on different teams and have some more fun with it too. So it keeps it interesting for them, especially if they're good. And then we've also done I think one or two scholarship tourneys too, just within CTG, because we're now at about 400 managed throughout the community. Some are owned by CTG, some are owned by the founders of CTG that are separate, like their own personal ones. And then there's about 5 or 6 of us as well that are doing our scholars kind of through CTG. But yeah, so we've done a couple of those. Going to definitely do some more of them. But I think esports is going to be a huge aspect going forward. So again, as I said, I like playing the game. There is a lot of complexity to it. There's a lot of different options too, with having 9 classes, 6 different classes of cards. I think there's a huge variety as far as what we can do in the esports arena, and I'm super excited to see that kind of blow up a little bit in this year with the tournaments. But I think especially in 2022, you're going to see. I hope we're going to see a Axie Infinity League, whether it be through Sky Mavis or separate. But I definitely think that's going to come. If not, maybe I'll create it. But I think that's going to be made for sure.
I agree, I agree. And one other question we struggled with, like just going back and touching on scholars real quick, there are some good questions in the chat that I want to touch on. Um, but like going back to the scholar thing, we struggled with, do you get more energy to your scholars by putting more Axies in their account, getting them to 10 Axies, or is that two more teams? How do we decide when somebody is deserving of more energy for the day, or it's worth just putting up more scholars and getting more people involved? It's like a weird balance that we're trying to struggle with, is like how do we help more people, and how do we also make sure the ones we are helping are getting the best help possible and are able to earn as much as possible? So how do you balance that?
Yeah, so I'm not a fan of the whole 10 axes for 40 energy. I haven't done it with any of my guys. It's also just kind of a headache to move axie eggs unless you're going to give them, 10 adult axes. But I know that some people were doing the eggs. They'll put eggs in a team. They'll have the energy for that day. Then when they breed more eggs, or those are ready to hatch, they'll hatch them, transfer them out, transfer in 10 more. To me, that's just a lot of work, and it's nice because you can kind of keep it permanently going by revolving door of eggs. Uh, but they did just update. Well, apparently the terms of service have always had it in there, but someone just pointed out to that recently they read that that is illegal by kind of fictitiously making the energy higher with eggs. So I wouldn't advise it. I don't think Sky Mavis has come out with like a hard, if we catch you doing it, we're going to ban you. But right now it's in a TOS thing that if it got out of hand, Sky Mavis would have the authority to do it, I guess, ban those axes. So it's just something to keep attention on. But yeah, the math does not add up. Even if you have 40 energy, that you would earn more on separate scholars because of the 50 bonus energy. If the 50 bonus energy didn't exist, it would actually make sense to maximize your best scholar players to give them more energy. But because the 50 bonus energy exists, you can't really make up for that until you probably get to 60 energy. But then even still, now you have 20 axes in there. You could, so 17, so you could make what, uh, 5 more teams with that, with 2 extra axes on the side. So I think even that probably isn't actually worth it with a 60 energy. So I'm not a big proponent for it,
That
but
makes a lot of sense, and that's what we were struggling with. Like, how do we justify doing this for one person when we could
yeah.
be helping two other people? You know what I mean? And the math, like you said, doesn't really work out that well. So that was a great one. One of the questions here in chat that I did want to ask, I've never heard of, from V's Live. Dave, what do you think about opponents being able to view matches publicly? Can that be exploited? I didn't even
So
know you could view matches.
yeah, so I don't know how long you've been in the game then, but yeah, so you used to be able to watch, you could watch your replays, but you could also watch people live. So that's how you actually stream an esports tournament right now, or it was in the past, is that you'd have two people play. The people who are shoutcasting has those other has one of the or two of the players in their friends, so that once they go live, start playing, you can click a watch button and you can actually watch their game live. I don't really know V's live. If you're there, I'd like to further explanation on what you mean by like exploiting. But as far as like just seeing your opponent's team or what they've been playing that's been good, I'd say to be in the top 200, you can get in the top 200 with just a good team. You cannot get in the top 20 with just a good team. You need to also be a good player. Stream sniping. Well, stream sniping is different though. But hold on, I'll say so. Like right now, you can make top 300 with just a good team if your team is that well diversified and you're a good player. But to really make top 20, no one's making top 20 with just a good team. You also have to be a great player. So that's kind of my feedback there. But as far as stream sniping, I mean, you could delay your stream. That's not very hard. Like I did a tournament and I delayed it by 2 minutes. I mean, it's not going to help them that much by knowing what I did 3 rounds ago. Uh, but yeah, so that already exists. They just turned it off recently because of all the server issues.
Got it, got it. And I know it seems like the current meta is plant aqua aqua, but if you were looking down the road, and we all know things change, games evolve, and things like that, where where do you see it going? Where are you gambling potentially the meta could go, in the next game changes or anything like that? Or do you foresee it staying aquas are pretty dominant?
Well, it all really depends on what you define as dominant. Like right now, truly the most dominant thing is a reptile. Just because of the way it is. Um, but the plant double aqua to me is it's just a very balanced team that covers a lot of stuff. So that's why plant double aqua is popular. It doesn't really necessarily mean that it's good or better. It's just that if you have a really good understanding of the game, you know all the cards your opponents have, a plant double aqua team can always be good. It's just always going to be super consistent in what it's doing. It's almost like a plant beast bird. It's just a very consistent team that as long as it's has the right cards, it's going to be hard to do terrible with. Um, that being said, and the next changes, which would probably be before Battles V2, I don't know what's going to become that much more popular. I think the big thing right now is that the Dust class is just super overpowered. The only downside is because it's a secret class, there's just not many people that have bred into it. And since it doesn't have its own cards, everyone's breeding different things because some want an Aqua Dusk, some want a combo beast Aqua Dusk, some want a plant Dusk, or a healing Dusk. So like because it's a secret class, there's just not many dusts that exist, and all the dusts that do exist, everyone's breeding different things into it. Whereas, like a mech has basically been only a beast type secret class, or a dawn is basically only a bird or an aqua type secret class. So I think you'll start seeing a lot more dusks in the next month or two. But then, if you look to Battles V2, I think everything's V2. Like I think they're gonna make more of a use case for Dawn. Either they're gonna kill off the Dawn class, or they're like almost like stop it from being able to breed, or they're just gonna um, adjust it because right now no one uses Dawn. Like at least I try to use Mac. There's still not many people that actually play it in competitive. I do. Dusk is obviously having its day right now, where people are starting to breed into that, and a lot more is happening on the Dusk side. But no one is touching Dawn. So I think that is a factor you do want to consider. Is like they're not going to let something be that bad for that long. They also just kind of ruined the bug. So I think actually in the next update, bug could get an improvement again because bugs were really popular. At least a double stun, double discard, and now it's almost unusable. Like it's just so they made it so bad that it's terrible. Um, but yeah, Battles V2 I think is going to change a ton. I'm optimistic they might actually create Dusk, Mech, and Dawn cards. I'm optimistic they might even do another class. Potentially like there's a lot they could do in Battles V2. I don't know for sure. I have no leaks. I'm not a tester in Battles V2, so I don't really know. But that's just kind of what I would hope to see from the game because it's kind of silly to have a class in Dawn that right now has no usability. Like it's not even good in adventure. It's terrible in arena. And it's a cool looking class. It just doesn't really have any purpose right now.
I'm glad you explained that because I was looking at like the dusk category, just like trying to look through for breeding and what I would want, and I'm like, there are no dusk part. What? How do these dusks work? What is going on here? They're like
Yeah.
all plants or mixtures. Like I didn't know. I don't even know how to start in there. So like, how would you say to start breeding with some of the specialty classes like that? What are you looking for when trying to pick up some to even start going down that rabbit hole?
Yeah, I think if you're going to go down the rabbit hole, you either need to have seen something that you liked and try to find the closest pairs to that you could potentially breed into, or you need to be a better theory crafter, which theory crafting is what I just call it when you just kind of create a class or a composition out of your own head by knowing all the cards. So that kind of comes, you really can't do that till you get further into the game and know what you're going to have to counter, what are going to be the problems, etc. Like that's just kind of as you get further down the road. But yeah, I would just go for like if you're going to breed into anything, just make sure you get two similars to try to then create it. Like I just worked on um creating a Terminator, but instead of a Terminator, it's got double talk instead of tiny turtle. And I tested it. It's pretty good. It's not the best thing in the world, but it's solid. I don't know if I like it more or less than the Terminator, and it's a little bit more versatile. Um, but yeah, so like that's something I tried to breed into. So I found just some other Terminators that had double talk and it's R1, and I ended up breeding a couple of those the other day. But yeah, for like a dust, like what's popular in dust right now is the Shrimpinator. So it's basically a shrimp tail with the same Terminator cards otherwise, like Tiny Turtle, Snail Shell, Lagging. So that's been popular. Some with Garish Worm have become popular. Elijah's a big proponent of Garish Worm, which I am too. I just haven't built into it yet. Uh, but yeah, it just all really depends on what you want to do. Like I spent time building out mechs that were going to be dual blade, revenge arrow, double nut. And now I think I own 30% of the mechs with those that exist, or somewhere close to that number, which is pretty crazy.
I love it.
Uh,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Tyrant King had a really good question in the chat. Any advice to stand out for people who want to become scholars? How to become a scholar?
Yeah, super easy. The easiest thing you can do to become a scholar is twofold. Uh, well, there's three things. So one, obviously the easy way to become a scholar is just go do the watch to earn streamers. I'm not a proponent or fan of them. I don't support them. Again, my only push on the other night was just make sure they're vetting well. I don't like dislike the people that do it. I get it why you're doing it, but it's just not the method that I would choose to vet scholars. So as long as you're vetting on the back end, I don't care. Do whatever you want to do. But if you
Agreed.
want a guaranteed scholarship, that is the most guaranteed way to get a scholarship right now is just watching a wash to earn. After that, my biggest proponent I would say is join a Discord of someone you do like in the community. So if there's a Twitter person you like, if there's a Twitch streamer, if there's a YouTube person, whatever, join their Discord. Almost everyone has a personal one, not all. Like for example, like I think Elijah doesn't have his own Discord. He kind of uses CTG as his personal Discord along with the CTG side. But if you really want to get into someone's specific thing, like let them know that. Like, don't do the whole, hey, I'm so and so with this age, I can be a great scholar. Never copy paste, never spam, but just go and like if someone literally DM me on the bottom of my thing said, hey Dave, uh, you're my favorite streamer. I'm only in the Axie Infinity Discord, but I really want to be in your Discord because I want to be on your team because I like you so much. How can I join your Discord? I would immediately send them the link to my Discord. My Discord's not that active. Well, a couple guys in there made it super active. And so one of the guys didn't have a scholarship yet. So I said, hey, do you have a scholar? He said, no. I added him as a scholarship just because he was active in my Discord. That again, I don't really do anything in my Discord. I just kind of made it one day and it's just been sitting there. But because he was active, I said, hey, if you're looking for a scholarship, I'll make you my next scholar. I've had others on Twitter too that just they started posting informational guides. I've had some that do art, some that do music. That just you don't want again, don't spam everybody. Target who you want because if you spam the universe, everyone's going to think that you don't really care. You're just looking for one. But if you show anyone the attention of day where you're like, I really like you and want to partner with you, everyone has a soft spot when they get built up. So I promise you that. But
Yeah.
almost anyone, if you go up to them like, "Oh my gosh, you're my favorite person. Like I watch all your YouTube videos. I watch you on Twitch every time you're on when I'm awake. I like all your tweets. Like I just really want to be on your team, sir. Like Dave, how do I join your team? Also, please use people's name, not sir. It also just makes it more authentic that you're talking to them, not just as like a sir or a person. And when you put in their name I know that you took the time to know who you're talking to. It's not just saying sir, because sir can be copied and spam wherever you want it to go. Um, but yeah, that's what's worked well for me. Like I haven't had many people do the right things to get me to give them a scholarship like that. But I can tell you, all the people that I've onboarded that were not through the traditional application of CTG, all of the ones I ended up onboarding never asked me for a scholarship, and that is the big difference. They might have had in their bio, looking for a scholarship in the future, or I might have had the vibe that hey, they are looking for a scholarship because they're talking about different things or like working towards that. But not one of them. I think I've done 4 or 5 now have actually asked me for a scholarship. But what they've done is built into the community. They've added on Twitter. They've added to my portfolio. Like one of my emotes on Twitch now is of art that one guy did. They added to the Discord. They help create more engagement there. Like all those things are what sets you apart from somebody else. Um, and so yeah, that's been the that's the recipe for success for anyone that you're going to try to go out and find.
That is absolutely great advice, and the same thing I've been sharing to everybody stopping in the stream. If you come in and spam, and the first message in the channel is, let me be your scholar, like, that's never gonna work. It's never
Right.
worked for anybody. Like, I even joke sometimes. I'm like, oh, you got it. You're the only person that's ever come in here and done that. I was just looking for a scholar. Thank God you came in right now. You know what I mean? Like, come on. But, like, I always tell people, be a part of the community, hang out, make some friends here. You know what I mean? And we're not looking for just to sign up randomly anybody, especially because we're so new. We want
Yeah.
to make some friends and like verify people, and honestly the best way to show me that you know the game is I know I'm a complete noob to this game. You know what I mean? So if you
Yeah.
help me learn something in my chat like, "Hey Rand, this is what you did. That's why you last lost that round," or "Here's a mistake you made," or "Check out that card," or something, that's letting me know, oh, you do know the game. Like, I should be listening. I should pay attention to you. You're a part of the community. You're helping out. That's a great way for me to then reach out and be like, please come be a scholar. And everything you said is exactly on point with my line of thought, really.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I've had some friends too, like who said the people that are like spamming "Good morning" on their Discord, or the ones who are copy pasting, end up a lot of the time actually being the bots, or just someone that is just trying to forcibly get into a scholarship. So I try to ignore a lot of them. If I find anyone that is spamming, I actually end up blocking them now on Twitter. It's just kind of my go-to that I'm trying to clean up my Twitter. And so I've definitely seen my rate of followers go down. I think because I've been blocking 10, 15 people a day. But it's also just trying to make my Twitter more enjoyable for me. Like I want to go in there and actually have a conversation about whatever I posted or whatever someone else posted. I don't really want to have a conversation that just is spam of, irrelevant topics. So that's the other thing too. If you're ever going to post or comment on a topic, do that. Don't comment something completely off topic like, "Oh, I'm looking for a scholarship." And I think you have a great opportunity there. Is the more you do that, um, people will find you. And have in your bio that you want to look for a scholarship. Like that way, if I go to your page and I'm about to follow you because you're funny or you're cool or whatever, if I see you want a scholarship, if I'm going to follow you and you're a scholar seeker, I guarantee you I'm going to offer you a scholarship. I don't think I follow a single person that is still looking for a scholarship because either they've already got one from somebody else or I gave them one. So that's like truly, truly my encouragement there is like, if you are become a active community member where I notice your name or you post up fun things that I see and I'm about to follow you, once I do, I will. If I still see you're looking for a scholarship, I will 99% of the time offer you one.
Absolutely, man. And I feel like you're reading my mind. Like it's pretty crazy to just kind of like hear you kind of basically speak out everything we've been thinking. It's good to know that we're kind of on the right path a little bit and also it's good to meet you and just find like-minded people in the community because I'm so new to this, like literally 2 weeks in, and I've
Yeah.
had people coming into our Discord and our community saying they're getting such horrible deals with their scholarship. And it seems like there are people that, there's a small part of the community, there are people getting taken advantage of. And it's also like really nice to find the other side of that, larger groups like yourself that are like really taking care of scholars and putting in the time to manage it and like giving out great information like this. All the content you're putting on YouTube and like watching your stream has been it has been great information, not only for potential scholars but myself, people that are brand new to the game, trying to get in on the end of breeding and running scholarships and like kind of putting our mind at ease with what we're trying to build on our end.
Yeah, and I've said too. Like I actually talked to another guy. I think he still does a watch to earn style stream, but he's a really nice guy. And again, like I don't have a problem with the people that do it. It's your decision. But him and I hadn't really ever talked before. When we talked the other day, and he was like, "Man, I really love you because you just speak your mind. You say truthfully whatever you want to say." And he's like, if I feel like if I did that, someone from the community or higher up's gonna be like, "Hey, Khan, you can't say that. You gotta take it back." And I said, "Yeah, that's the difference, though, Khan. If someone does that to me, I'm gonna screenshot that, put it out on my Twitter or Twitch, and be like, 'Yo, look at someone trying to shut me down because I try to speak the truth about whatever is happening.'" And that's kind of how I view it. Like, I'm not here to be popular. I'm not here to, make money on Twitch and YouTube. I'm just here to make decent enough content that can help you or others, get into the game, because right now I'm gonna have a good ROI this month on SLP, but I still spent more in the game. I didn't put in more fiat dollars, but just like reinvesting of all the ETH into the game and SLP. But like starting next month or the month after, if I wanted to start withdrawing SLP, like I'm going to have a great ROI. And I think that for me to be able to also help teach others how to do that, I'd rather have 10,000 me's where we have 10 to 50 to maybe 100 max scholars than have 100 or 200 whales who have 5,000 scholarships when we're looking at the end of the year. And so that's kind of my goal, because I think there's a lot of other people like myself. I'm from the U.S. and I don't know, taxes are probably I'm sure going to kill me, but there's a lot more of us that could definitely take advantage of this, and it's right in the wheelhouse of things I like to do. I love video games, I love tech, I love finance, and so to put all those together and then be able to help another community that is way less fortunate than I have been in my life, and see them grow. And I've already had two people, graduate from my scholarship that's only been going for 2 months. Like that is the best thing in the world. And so, yeah, that's where I've been really super fortunate. But at the same time, too, I definitely don't have a problem. Like if I get canceled by, not that Sky Mavis or Axie Infinity would cancel me, but if I get kind of blocked out and not winning a popularity contest is not going to ruffle my feathers. Like I'm not someone who's going to take offense to many things. It's pretty hard to really get me upset as far as just words.
I think you made a great point. Like I was literally talking with Efficient this morning, like the last couple videos we've really put up and like actually signing up some scholars. I think my social media has like really blown up. And I mean, I don't even use Facebook anymore and I'm getting like Facebook notifications about wanting to be a scholar. And that was one of the questions I had this morning with Evan, I was like, my notifications are blowing up to the point where I can't. There's no like, it's to the point now where like the conversations I want to see and stuff are getting drowned out by "Sir, let me be your scholar" and all that. And like, I agree with you. Like that is the worst way to interact with me and try and get a scholarship. And I kind of agree with the fact that I might start blocking like the spam posts like that because it is getting a little out of control. And I'm just glad to hear somebody else say that so that I know that I'm not crazy in
No,
thinking that.
you're not crazy. And VZ Live, I don't know who you are, VZ, but I don't know if you're Ray VZ or someone else, but I don't know, new name. But VC just said that get your doubts clear. Dave is a sensible influencer in Axie space, and that is exactly what I want to do. Like, I I don't want to call anyone out, but like I don't like the over spam or over popularization of certain things just to be popular and get likes. Like I really think a lot of people in the community did that bad about 6 weeks ago. It slowed down some, which is good. Not by everybody, but it has slowed down from where it was. That people are starting to get a little more sensible with how they post and what they're posting, whether it be on YouTube, Twitch, or just on Twitter. Um, but yeah, like there's a reality to the game, and like some people talked about it about 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, saying, "Oh, it feels like everyone in the community is almost fake because it's also positive." And the community as a whole actually is very positive. But yeah, there is a lot of back channels that like I'm now getting myself more in part of that like it's not all rainbows and butterflies. And there is some people that have gripes about Axie or that are upset about things that happen, whether it be Sky Mavis or from other people or whatever else it is. And there is, trash talk being talked behind doors. And I'm someone who I don't like to trash talk. I just talk on facts. Like if you say or do something and I think it's really bad or detrimental, I'm going to probably call you out. But as far as, that's also concerned too. Like it's okay to say if something's unjust or if you're unhappy with something. Like, you know, unfortunately, the Sky Mavis still has control over the game, but Sky Mavis can't control everything that happens or everything that everyone says. Like the game is way too big now that there's going to be so many other people that are going to be doing bad things that there's just no way they control it. Example A is like the Avocado Guild or that Axie University I tweeted from this morning and last night. Like both of those are great examples of like Jiho just retweeted Avocado Guild. I think Gabby did too, or Koku did. Someone else did too, or commented on them. And it's like they are the face of Axie now commenting on this guild that gives them more popularity, yet it's probably a guild that if they looked at the fundamentals, they'd be like, absolutely not, I'm not supporting them. And so there's things like that again, like where they're even retweeting or going further and supporting them when again, like it's kind of against the core values of I think what they actually wanted to create or have happen with scholarships long term. So anyways.
Absolutely. I feel like it's like a work in progress with all the economic stuff and it is really interesting to me. Like what are your thoughts on like the tokenomics of AXS and SLP? Do you think like how much control does Mavis have over that stuff? Do you think the rise in price in AXS maybe to slow down some breeding? Because I feel like a lot of people just got in this game, wanted to breed, start up scholarships and stables and stuff like that. I was wondering myself, like, are we going to see like a mass, amount of new Axies hit the market? What are your thoughts on stuff like that and like the economy of
Well, you
Axies in
already
general?
did. So right now, right last night there was 100,000 Axies on the market. Right now there still is with some bugged, but even if it's 8% bugged, it's 108,000. So at 8% bugged, it would still be 100,000 on the marketplace. When all the Axie was going nuts, there was only 30,000 on the market. So we've already seen triple the amount of Axies in the marketplace, which is uh, good and bad. I think that they're stuck there for two reasons. AXS is high and the breeding cost is high. So if you factor those in, like it really doesn't make a ton of sense for certain people to join in and start breeding. I think right now, if you did do two breeds though, yeah, the average. So that's the crazy thing. So the average cost to breed two Axies is less than is 0.13, but the floor right now for those Axies is I think 0.15. Yeah, for eggs is 0.15, and for adults is 0.16. So that's what I think is also driving the value to be so imperfect compared to true breeders that are going to breed like say 3, 4, 5 and sell high quality Axies out because right now what's happening, it actually is profitable. And you see the floor, the entire floor is two breeds. Oh my gosh, this is even better. I don't know if you go to the marketplace, just type in this select adult. The entire floor, other than two on the first page, are two breeds. So what they're doing is they're buying two eggs, waiting for them to hatch, or buying two adults at zero breeds because zero breeds are probably around the same price.
Mm-hmm.
Zero breeds are, yep, zero breeds are 0.17. So they're buying them at 0.17, breeding them twice. Their input cost on those is going to be like 0.14, selling the parents for 0.15. So they made profit on that right away. They have two more, they breed them again, and they're just breeding mutts. So they're breeding complete garbage to then try to resell on there um, uh, for the for the community. So like that is what's the problem right now, is that there is such a disparity on the jumps in SLP, that you're getting a lot of just these bad Axies that are being bred and pushed out there that, you really probably don't want to buy the floor for in most situations. But at the same time too, they end up making some cool combos that actually might be worth breeding or using in arena, but like unless you are kind of a more advanced arena player, you might not even know they have value. And so you can find some deals in there, but for the most part, like if you just went in there and grabbed three, you're going to grab three Axies that probably aren't good for a scholar, competitive, or anything else.
Right, right. And you really need to know the game theory to kind of like look through the floor to maybe find the gem, like the diamond in the rough that might have some usability, I guess. That's very interesting. I didn't know there was such a disparity like that, and like people are breeding just to throw out some floor axes just for profit.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like it's a free economy, so you can kind of do whatever you want. Like that's like if it's making you money, it's not making them a lot of money. It's probably only making them $50 a breed. So they have a lot of money in the system to only make $50 to $100 on a full breed cycle. But again, like if you do that 20 times and you're able to sell them all, like you can, you're gonna net yourself a couple grand. It's just, it's a very short-sighted decision versus actually looking at the long picture and how much more they could make if they just took a little bit of time. Because those axes, and Geo says a lot too, like the floor axes or any axis is going to have value in the future. And there's talks about trying to be able to destroy axes or like, to turn them into other like SLP or AXS or other tokens, or to use them to upgrade body parts or upgrade land or just do something else. But like, so he said repeatedly that all axes are going to have value. It's just a question of what and how much value they're going to have.
That makes a lot of sense. How do you see like land and all of that stuff coming into play? Do you think the game's going to change much at some point in time when all that comes into play?
Oh yeah, for sure. Uh, that would be probably the defining point where I would consider going full time to Axie, is if I have enough scholars. Like say I'd probably have 125 scholars. It's kind of my end goal. Um, and then just start, collecting kind of ROI from there.
Hmm.
But if I have 125 scholars or right around there with land, the question is, can they earn more, or is it the same amount of earnings from a scholarship side if they're playing on my land as well? Because you should earn an ROI from people using your land, but they should also earn an ROI from a scholar perspective. You're sharing those profits too. Are they getting, wood or stones, metals? Are they getting extra AXS or items that are kind of different too? And like, how do you split those up? There's a lot to consider when you look at all those things, right? Because I don't know, like if a scholar finds an item, but it's on my account that's a scholar account, how do you, who gets the item? Do you have to sell it? Do you give the item to the person? Like it's a very weird area because it's technically on my account that uh they can't even take out their item if they want to without my seed phrase. So there's more there to be figured out, but that is also a concern of mine too. Like I don't want again, I'm not probably gonna prey on my I'm not gonna prey on my scholars, like I'm gonna take all the stuff if they work for it. But at the same time too, I know other people will, as we just saw by some of those guilds we saw today. It's going to happen. So I think it just becomes more and more complex as you get to that level. But I do really wonder where the earning potential is, especially in the first year, because land's going to earn your own money from like staking or AXS from people that use it. If they drop things on your land, like you'll have earnings there too. If you're the landowner, you have first right of access to all the materials on your land too. So that means I have to farm it, but I don't know if it's me farming or if it's like a scholar farming for me. Can I split that profit? Like there's so many questions. But yeah, I think a lot will change then. And like I think V2 will change how body parts work, like the ears or the eyes. I hope it changes how secret classes work, but there's still so many other questions.
Do they have like any dates on when all of that's supposed to go in? Is that next year, way down the line? Do they have any like release info on that stuff?
So it's been delayed a couple times. I think that their delay went further um because of the servers. Like they didn't like there was no way they were even expecting, like their dream goal was 1 million people playing Axie by the end of the year in March.
We're
Like
way over
we're
that,
gonna hit
aren't we?
we're gonna hit that this week if we haven't already hit it. So like I don't know. Like that's kind of the conversation. So you would hope that there's gonna be still some playability to that, but right now their kind of updated roadmap is now Q4 will be alpha tests for current landowners to get into land play, which I wonder how that's going to go. Like, is it? And I've thought about different things too. Like, what if they gave it to Twitch streamers that hey, you're going to get 5 land access passes a week that just auto drop and give away through Twitch or YouTube, or hey, you can invite every person gets 3 invites to land, so that over time you invite a lot of the community in, but it's kind of staggered. Um, so I don't know. I think there's a lot of options to how they kind of roll it out. I don't know what it's going to be, but yeah, I think there's going to be. I think the alpha's supposed to drop in Q4. Within I think Q1, Q2 of next year will be full land play for everybody is the goal.
Oh wow, that's going to
But
be amazing. I need to stack some land.
well, you can see some if you haven't. Kagi has a video from the alpha back in December. There's one week where they allowed the current landowners to go play on the land. But again, like it was so pre-alpha, like there is a lot of glitches and stuff like that too. But it does give you some sense of an idea as to what it might look like. But I think it's only going to get better from there. And I saw someone ask earlier about do they think that Axies will level up beyond 25? I think they will because there's going to be upgraded parts. And so the only parts that will be able to upgrade to the max will be the Mystic parts. Um, and there's supposed to be some extra utility for origins, maybe for MEOs or like what are called tag classes. There's potentially there's going to be more rarity and stuff like that too, or usability with some of the Japanese frosty Christmas stuff, but nothing's been confirmed yet. So there's a lot of rumors. There's a lot of stuff swirling around, but no one really quite knows. Like, can they evolve? That's another rumor because they all have legs. So like, do the legs grow? I don't know. Like, does a yak become like 4 times the size of a normal? Like, I don't know. There's so many questions. There's so much excitement that I think that they can build so much into it. But the other big thing too is going to be like the SDK. So I saw Kagi tweet about it the other day. He showed something about Pokemon Unite. Like that Pokemon Unite game could and probably will be in Axie Land. So if you played like Blanco's Block Party or Sandbox or anything, like you've seen some of the games that are built into those. That's going to happen within the Axie universe too, but using your Axies, which I just think is so freaking cool. Like it if that actually happens, and again, they have to have the right tools in place to do it. But if that actually happens, like holy shit, this game's going to be next level.
We're still so early with this stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, but
And like anybody who's thinking about getting in, you're early. Just go ahead, take the dive. Like this is so early. Not financial advice, but I feel like this is
yeah,
a very early game.
everything that you're gonna do, and like yeah, I think that's the easiest earning is just playing your dailies, and you'll earn back at least your first 3 Axies and start there. Because you're going to guarantee to earn back your Axies within right now prices of 4 to 12 weeks depending on how much you play. But that's your simple win right there to have money in the game already investing and basically pay off your investment within 2 to 3 months and be ready for land play with 3 Axies to mess around with. But yeah, man, it's gonna be nuts. And you mentioned the AXS side too in breeding, but like I really do think that they're gonna cut that price on AXS because they're gonna have to maintain value in SLP. So they can't obviously change the price of AXS, but they can change how much AXS is needed to breed. And so that once they get servers right and they know they can do a season, I think as they finish that or they test V2, that's where all the price of breeding goes down and you have a crazy influx of people coming into the game.
That makes a lot of sense, to be honest. I kind of agree with that. What are your thoughts on like I guess when they lower that price and all the breeding comes in, and I guess there's still so much player growth to come in this game, people coming into the game. What are your thoughts on like how competition evolves from here? Do you think we're gonna see like an esports league? They've kind of hinted at like doing specific servers with it within the Axie and Mavis community, or do you think they're gonna lead to outside leagues kind of popping up, or a little mixture of both?
I hope it's both. I think from Ziori's side, he hopes it's both too. But they are going to have an internal one. But it might be eventually they some other company like say it's YGG starts their own league, and then Sky maybe sponsors it or Axie sponsors it. Um, but yeah, I think you could have multiple. The only challenge is exactly what we're talking about right now. Like you have to have servers work, and you know how like if you talk about other games, like League of Legends, I'm sure, or Call of Duty, you can run them on LAN or run them locally. That you don't
Hmm.
need internet intervention. And so as long as the game works, you're good. Axie right now doesn't have that possibility. Like Chief had some other tournaments and some other fun matches set up for in the July timeframe. He had to cancel both of them because the servers were so questionable.
Right.
So like that's a challenge. Like you can't go fill up the Barclays Center with a tournament and then the server doesn't work. Like it just doesn't happen that way. So you have to have certain things so stable that, prevented from an act of God that just takes out the entire servers wherever they are. You can comfortably feel good about running a tournament that you plan 6 months or a year in advance. But yeah, I hope there'll be an Axie League. I hope there'll be Axie, partnered tournaments. I think there's a lot of potential there to do so many different things. Like you're going to have team tournaments, you're going to have solo tournaments. You might even then have like a scholarship league. Like there's just so much potential there too to create more utility behind it.
Makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I agree. Like the server's got to work. I think it's such a bullish sign though, with all the people coming to play the game and the explosive player growth. Like the server issue, like I just kind of shrug it off, like, oh, I can't play for a few days, but like this is so good for the system, like that everybody's coming in and they will solve the problem. It's just something that's got to get worked through. I think it's kind of like a good problem to see happening, you know.
Right, right.
We've
Um,
got
Go ahead.
I was gonna say we've been cranking here for now over an hour. I did want to like kind of let everybody know what is like a great way for people to get in contact with yourself. I already see somebody like IUB Ball says I'm early, I'm going all in. If people have questions, want to ask questions like us, want to get on your scholarship team, want to learn about CTG, what's the best way to contact you guys, figure out more information, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So you can find me at Twitter, or everything is just DAVEvsAXIE. So I'll drop my if you want to watch me, I'll drop my Twitch,
Yeah, absolutely.
DAVEvsAXIE, and then I can drop my YouTube as well. Um, is also a good place to find videos that I post a ton on. But then, yeah, so you can find me on Twitter. It's the same thing. And then CTG is kind of the same method. If you want an invite to CTG, I should have it always public on either my stream or somewhere else. But I'll actually just drop one in here right now. So it should be good for 7 days. No, let me change that. Give me
Teacher
one
Play
second.
says those YouTube videos are fire, Dave. He does. Dave
Oh,
Dave puts out a lot of great content. I suggest everybody follow him and follow these links that Dave and Efficient are putting in the chat. And we're
thank you.
gonna
So
make sure all these links are down below on the YouTube if anybody's watching this
yeah,
on
so
YouTube afterward.
that's the Discord invite too. Do I have an ape? I mean, like a Kongs? No, I have one I'm looking to buy, but I don't have enough ETH right now to do it. But I really do want one. I have a bunch of other random things, but not. Oh, a board ape yacht club? No, I do not. I had so many offers to buy them too at like 0.3 to 0.7, and I just never pulled the trigger. At the time too, I didn't have an ETH. Like it's crazy once you start getting into scholars and get into the breeding farm. I had a lot of ETH at different times. Like right now, I got nothing. You'll sell me mine. I probably can't afford it right now. Like I literally have one ETH, and I need to go buy AXS and SLP to even breed. Like I have one batch amount of SLP, and I have literally 0.45 something of AXS. Like I'm Axie rich, but I'm SLP, ETH, and AXS poor. So yeah, so you can follow me there for CTG. Again, if you want to find a scholar, there is a form I can drop to from my Discord. Um, I'll copy the link. There's a link. If you actually are interested in the scholarship, you can fill that out. We vet through that for all of our normal scholars. But again, I do the things I talked about today to try to find a scholarship for me or anyone on Twitter or Discord or Twitch or YouTube or anything. Like trust me, that's going to be the best way for you to shine, but also have a much better chance of actually getting one. The only other leak I'll say here, so I might launch it today. Um, if not, it's probably going to launch within the next week or two. But I've already minted two. But I am starting a mentorship program. So kind of similar to Axie Chat Premium, but instead of going where the premiums are trying to bring in kind of like whales of the game, I'm actually trying to find people like yourself or someone who has maybe 5-10K they want to come in and invest in the game, but they don't want to waste their money. And so, or they want help with anything from streaming, arena play, competitive teams, breeding teams, parents, shopping, whatever. So I'll be launching that. I'll be maxing it at 50 people, but it'll be an NFT on OpenSea. So if you
That's really
are
cool.
interested, it definitely will be a cool program. But then that way too, I'm really invested in 50 people and doing everything I can to help them. So I'll still do my normal Twitch and YouTube and stuff like that, but like they'll get a 24-hour sneak peek at any YouTube video, so they'll have an extra day before in case there is a leak or something cool in there they want to use first. And we'll do like a weekly AMA. Plus, we'll do a 1-hour chat for 6 months. Like they'll have 1 hour and whenever they want over 6 months to do a private chat with me to go over whatever they want to talk about. Plus answering questions and all that too. So I'm really excited about it.
You just sold IUB ball. He says that sounds cool. Would you help me source Axies?
Yeah, so like yeah, so people are paying me right now like at a much worse rate than what this will be for like a 6-month program. But basically, yeah, we'll have the Discord so that it'll just be 50 of us in the Discord, or 51 including me, that will actually just help you do everything. So if someone has a question, we can pin them there too. But yeah, like every week we'll have an AMA. So if on the AMA you want to talk about breeding, we'll talk about breeding. If you want to talk about arena, let's talk about arena, or like how do we counter a Terminator, or how do you beat a bird, all that stuff like that. So the NFT, I'm going to start at zero point 0.5 ETH. So it's definitely not cheap. I don't think it's cheap at all, but for what people are paying me right now is pretty cheap. So like most coaching, in case you didn't know, any top coach right now is going to cost zero point 0.1 ETH for an hour. Maybe even more than that for some. But most people are paying me right now 0.1 ETH just for an hour of my time, which is, again, I still think that's crazy money. But then some of them actually were the ones that encouraged me, like, hey, would you ever do like a program where I just pay you more upfront, but I just kind of have access to you, you know, for whatever I want to ask you about. Your boss gonna buy all 50.
All 50.
Uh, that's hilarious. Yeah. So yeah, so people already pay me that, and I was like, man, it just feels like I'm not giving them enough, and so I wanted to create this with a chance that, we kind of create a better community. But then also my long term goal would be is if we in 3 months you might feel like you're a pro, so if you want to move on and sell it, you can sell it, and then someone else can come in. I'm going to start mentoring them and then help them out. But if you do want to keep it and you want to kind of become a mentor in the Discord, my goal would then be I'm going to share some of my future sales. We'll do a vote internally in the community, and if we want to bring in more people, I'll share the sales of that with people that want to kind of become other mentors in the community, whether that be by a level experience and I can kind of prove it, or if you just like you want to be hired as a mentor in the community, I'll pay you a certain amount of ETH, maybe on a monthly basis. But yeah, that way then also like it also removes some of the burden on me, but then I can kind of empower some of you guys too, that if you do become really good, or you make top 300 on arena, or you can prove you have a profitable breed farm, I'd give you a chance to then kind of become a mentor as well in the community, but also make some money on the side too, which would be
That
cool.
makes a lot of sense, and I've even had people like reaching out to me in the DMs, like other people that have watched me from stock trading and all the other content I've done that are like, I'm really interested in getting Axie. Will you help me purchase? Make sure I'm not wasting my money. Exactly that. And for myself, I'm a degenerate noob who just got in the past 2 weeks, so I'm going to refer them to DAVEvsAXIE until I learn, until I feel like I'm efficient to even help somebody do something like that. I don't think I'm there yet, being just 100% honest, and I'd rather refer them to somebody like yourself who's been in it more and is already putting out good content for the time being, and hopefully maybe we'll work together on that side of things in the future.
Yeah, and I definitely wouldn't have. I will say too, like I wouldn't ever do that program if I didn't feel like it was the right move. And I've already now had I think 5 people that I've done at least an hour of coaching with, and one I did like 2 nights ago. He came back again the next night for another hour because he's like, all right, I want to do this now. Can you do this with me? And then like he tipped me, and I was like, dude, what are you doing? Like you already paid me for an hour, and I did give him more time, but so again, I want to make sure they get the value out of it. And but just that showed me, okay, well, if he's only going to get 2 hours of my time or 3 hours of my time, by paying like 0.2 ETH or something like that, why don't I just give him 6 months of time for a half an ETH, and then, you know, we'll work through whatever. But if I have a whole community that has all the same questions, then we can help a whole group grow at the exact same rate, and we can all be consistent on what I'm telling you. Because the downside about YouTube, especially, is it all becomes stale. Like Elijah does really good, like starter Axie teams, but every season they change. If there's any like balancing stuff, they change, and then based on Axie prices, they change, especially if it's like a starter team. So you have all these challenges that like he puts out fire content, it gets 30,000 views, but then 2 weeks later he might need to make another one because everything's changed. So same thing for me. Like if I ever to give someone coaching, that's where it's also like tough to do coaching, because if you do only an hour, you can only cover so much. But if you do coaching on arena, like you can help them a little bit, but once there's a new meta or a new opponent, then it's all stale. So that's kind of my goal too. Like obviously right now Terminator is a populator. I think soon you'll see more dust in the market. You're going to see a lot more combo like beast move, birds, and aquas. That like how do you counter that? So all that's going to be super important, I think, as you go forward. But I'd rather be able to at least give my 2 cents and try to help them be at the top of the leaderboard without just paying me every week they want to have advice.
Absolutely, man. It makes a lot of sense, and I'm gonna be looking for one of those NFTs myself to scoop,
Okay,
because we need help. We need help. Help us.
for
But yeah,
sure.
man, I appreciate you coming on the podcast today. This is probably one of the longer podcasts I've ever done, and I've learned so much. I'm gonna rewatch this thing 1,000 times to get all the information out of it and make sure I download it all in my brain. And I appreciate you coming on here and talking with us and like helping us through all this. And I would really love to do it again as things progress, servers come back on, and you grow and we grow. And we would love to work with you guys, maybe doing some scrims or something between scholars and just having some fun and putting out more content.
Definitely. Yeah, that's I mean, first of all, appreciate you having me on. It's definitely been a great time. The hour and 40 minutes flew by. Yeah, it's been fast for sure, but a lot of information there. But if you guys do have questions, don't hesitate to tag me on Twitter or try to ping me on Discord or Twitter, or find me on my Twitch or YouTube too. I try to do my best to check everything. I do miss some for sure. It's become everything's become a little bit more popular lately, but yeah, man, I'm just happy I could help. And once you do post this either on YouTube or Spotify, let me know too. I'd love to give you a shout out on Twitter and repost it.
Absolutely. I'm sure Efficient, as soon as we get off here, will be right on that and getting all those links and everything in the description. And as soon as it's done, we'll let you know. And yeah, we really appreciate the time, man. I know it's the middle of the day and you got a real job and you got scholars to deal with and everything like that. So I really appreciate it. I can't say it enough.
Dude, no worries. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. We'll let the stream go. And thank you to everybody who watched. And if you liked it and saw us on YouTube, hit the like, follow all the links for Dave, and hit the like for DAVEvsAXIE as well. We'll see you guys. Thank you for watching the YouTube videos. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, comment down below, help us out with the YouTube algorithms. And we're live 5 days a week on Twitch, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. EST. Come check us out. Thanks for watching.